Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Hemang Pancha. This is the 12th webinar exploring the functionality of Powerproject. Previous webinars are on the self-support website, where you will also find information on Powerproject online training courses. Remember that Solid Support can help with your Powerproject setup, templates, and code libraries. We are once again lucky to have Chris Ray with us from Microsoft to conduct today's session. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Hemang. Thank you. Welcome everybody, and thank you for your time this morning. We have Hemang and myself today on this webinar, and just a few basic rules or basic housekeeping at the start. You are all muted, so we won't be able to hear you. But in the webinar, GoToWebinar panel that's come up, you can minimize it using the orange button with the white arrow, or you can also use the question area to type a question in. And as those questions come through, if we have an answer or we're not going to cover those in the standard, we will answer them, or at the end we can answer them there. And if we can't pick any of those up, we'll be looking at where you can answer them. We'll reply to you, myself or Solid Support. So today's webinar is about Powerproject Vision. And Powerproject Vision is an additional tool to Powerproject that you would use. It is a web-based collaboration tool. And again, from the title at the beginning, it would say that it was more of just a storage, but it is way more than a storage area. So, and the customers that are using this, and we have case studies that we can share with you with the current customers that are using this, but the customers and what they've asked for, and it's been built around requirements for customers, is to access their Powerproject files and projects from multiple locations, enable access to those project files to different people through different ways of accessing it, and that means accessing it through Powerproject, but also if people just want view access and just be able to look at it in a free viewer, which we'll talk about as we go through. Powerproject itself, the Powerproject Vision itself, actually runs a whole set of workflows that you can use within your business. So rather than just storing your projects and allowing you to access those projects, it also allows you to have one point of truth, so one project that is the main project. Revisions of those projects can be controlled within the system. You can create reports based on that project data, and we'll look at some of that as we go through. And then you can automate regular processes. So those items that would be baselining, creating revisions, at the moment where people might be saving as Rev 1, Rev 2, saving it on a weekly basis, baselining it on a regular basis, those can also automatically be put in as workflows. But it also allows you, the project will be created from Vision and work its life through Vision, but also it allows you to have approval processes. So projects can be submitted and the approval process can be set up. And the advantage with Vision is that although it's centrally stored projects, you check those out, you download them to your machine, and you don't have to be connected. So you can go and sit in somewhere where you don't have connectivity, a site that doesn't have very good connectivity, and you don't need constant access back to Vision. So if we start looking a bit more about Vision itself, Vision is hosted in Microsoft Azure. We actually have a data center in an Azure environment in New South Wales for Vision, which the Australian version of Powerproject will connect to in there. It is a configurable system, so you can set it up in the way that you work as a business. And that means that you can create user fields and that can be used in your dashboards and reports. It means you can use those for workflows and security access. You can define the roles that fit your business. You can define the program types. So some people may have single program types. Other people may have a tender program type, a contract, a delivery type of program. As many as you want or as few as you want can be set up in there. You can define security roles around all of those user types and user roles that you have and the fields you set up to work with that. And then again, you can upload your templates. So you can specify the templates that a project starts at. So it's fully configurable. So the system you'll see today is just a very simple version of it. When it's implemented, when you purchase it and it's implemented, there's a number of service days, and we talk to you about your workflow and how you work within your business with your projects. So again, you can create different roles here. So we've got admin, sector manager, planner, progress entry, users. They can be configured inside here. You can set up different regional locations. So all of these fields you see here that says that we've got these user fields, these are user fields that you can define. You can have as many or as few as them you want, and you can set who has access to those fields. So it's very configurable inside here. You also have, you can see all of the projects in one view. So we see a list of all the projects here, the current status, if they've been checked out, start and finish dates. And you can tailor these columns again how you want, and tailor the theme of how it looks within the system. So we can control all of this and configure it as such in there. And say project templates, you can design and create or upload your own templates that match your requirements. So all projects will start from that point. And again, you can assign the relevant users and types of users to a project. And we'll see this as we go through. You can define the different, the program templates, the program types in here. So construction and so forth can be defined. And then you have workflow rules, and this is where the power lies, that you can actually define who can do what to a project at its different statuses. And this is how you manage and develop the workflow for your approval process, where projects sit. And to give you an example, and again, not to scare anyone, but this is an example workflow that we've sat down with customers and worked out. So in here we would work out, a new project is created by a particular role type, so information's entered about that, the project gets created, it goes into there, and then the program status is set to checked in, it then gets checked out, planners check out the program and the baseline if exists, and so forth. And so this, you can sit in, design this workflow to match your specific requirements, and vision can be configured without either ourselves or our partners to meet these requirements. So this is just an example. We've got simpler ones, we've got much more complex ones inside here. So this is the basis of it in here, and what we're going to do is going to show you a bit of a demonstration about vision, of how it works, and then we'll come back to a few more summary slides about vision itself, and if you have any questions we can go through those. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up vision here for me, and if I open up vision in a web page, I've already logged on as myself, and this is a configured system, or a basic and configured system. And if I go to the admin section here to start with, you can see that we can define all of our attributes that we may want to use. So as an example, if I go into enumerators, which is a list, which are lists of items, and in here, and if I go into office, we have a number of different offices. This is one particular one we did for a demonstration previously in there, those offices, and those statuses and these types, the project types, build or design, you can create as many of these different lists of fields that you need for your business. And these not only can be used as security and workflow, but they can also be exported out into the business intelligence database for reporting purposes. You can then define those, and again, very quickly here, I've got a project ID, which is a string that's associated with a project, and then I've got location, which uses that location of offices inside there. I can also, if I go back to my admin role, and I'm admin so I can see this, this is where I define all my different users in the system. And then if I also then look at workflow actions, this is where we can define workflows, and they can be very comprehensive as you go through. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into my project section, and I'm going to create a new project. So I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to call it my new project in here. And I'm going to say where it starts in. Is it in a bid, contract, or delivery? I'm going to say it starts with a bid. I can choose my template that I'm going to work with in there, which is my construction template. I can put an optional start date in there as well and a WBN prefix if I want that within the project. I can then assign users to this. So I can assign and choose my roles in here, and I'm going to assign myself inside here. And I've assigned that user, but you can assign different users. So you could assign your planner, your regional planner, your construction manager, and so forth, all across to this one project. Make some notes about that, and I can put a reference number in there, and that location that we set up, that's available in there. And you can customize this by moving these, having these moved up and down in the configuration of which ones are most important, and the other fields can interact with these. So if I had a certain location selected, it may only allow me to see certain users that are available in that location. Once I've set this up how I want, I can click on create, and it will now go away, and it's now creating this project. And if I save those changes, you can see it's currently set as a new status. And what that means is it's now in the background creating that project from that template I set up and assigning it to those users in there. And once it's done, it will be ready to use. So it's just working on that at the moment. And there we go, it's now created a bid program, and it now has a number of options inside here, which include things like create baseline, submit the bid, mark as completed, and so forth in here. Now, this would be done as an administration process of creating that project to start with. But the real power that's used to get with Vision is that if I open up Powerproject here, and I want to work on a Vision project, all I need to do is I don't need to go to the web page and download that project. I just go into Powerproject, and I go into my Vision tab here, and I log in. I'm already logged in at this one, and I get a list of all the projects that I have access to. So with those projects, I can choose and say, well, actually, I'm going to work on this project. I click on it. It asks me, do I want to check it out? I say yes. And what it now does is it now checks that out from Vision and downloads that onto my machine. I no longer need to be connected to the internet now. I do not need to have a connection to Vision. Now I'm working on this. And if I go back to here and go to my projects, you can see it's now marked it as checked out. And if I looked at the status of it, it knows who it's got checked out. Because I've got it checked out, or a user has it checked out, no one else can check it out and work on it at the same time. So it knows who's got the latest copy. As an administrator, I could cancel that checkout or manually check it in. But at the moment, I'm just going to work on it. I'm inside here. So here's my project, and I'm going to put a few activities in here just very quickly. And I put my project together however I want to do it. I link those activities together, reschedule it, and there it is. There's my first project. Notice in Powerproject we have these extra buttons available to us. So we can check it in, we can cancel the checkout, we can submit it inside there. We can also, there are program actions that, again, these export to BI and baseline checked out project, these are workflow actions that I've created inside Vision that are now accessible inside Powerproject. So once I've done this, I'm going to actually say, okay, well, I'm going to check that in. And when I do that, it comes up with a check-in program, and I can say this is now Rev 1, make some comments on it if I wanted to, click on OK, and it's now I would need to be connected back, and it now checks it back in and sends it back to Vision, and it's now already updated it with it's checked in. If I go back to projects, you can see there it's got Rev 1. And if I look at that, it's now checked it back in. It's now available to check out by other users if they wanted to, or that user again. But one of the real powers in here, what it's done is every time you check it in, if I look at the revisions tab here, it has actually created a copy of that. So I don't need to do a save as and close and save as a different name, save it every week. It automatically creates the project form, the revision for me. And if I checked it in 5 times in a week, or 10 times a week, or 2 times a day, it would remember every revision of that, and I would have the ability to download any of those revisions as a baseline if I wanted to. So if I choose to check it out on my machine, and then I don't have to check it back in the same day. It sits on my machine, and I can have that on my machine for the rest of the week, however long I want, and then I can check it in again. So I don't have to check it back in the same day. It's up to you. There is an option inside when you've checked it out. And if I just go back to Powerproject in here, and I just open up that project again, and check it out again, and there it is. Again, I might be making some modifications to this, whichever I want to do there, and I can link those together, reschedule, and so forth in there. And there's my project. But I also have an option under the check-in. I have a commit changes, and what this does is this says, well, send an update back to Vision, but actually keep the project on my machine. So I don't have to keep on closing it down, checking it back in. I can keep it actually open on my machine. I just commit those changes in there, and it will then go through and that are my changes Rev 2, go for that, and that will go back up. It uploads it back to Vision, but it still stays open my machine. So I still have it checked out. It's still my project in there, and if I go back to my projects, you can see it's still checked out, but it's Rev 2 now, and if I look at the revisions, you see I've got my revisions there. So even without uploading, I can keep it on my machine, work on it, keep it on my machine as long as I want, just commit the changes on a regular basis. Like a save almost, just committing changes. But you can click the save and work normally on your machine, don't have to be connected unless you're going to commit it back in. And when I click on these, those relevant details are in there as I want. Now, if I go back to the details, there is a number of options that I've got in here. One is this baseline option here. It's checked out at the moment, so that's up there. If I check it back in again, just so that's going to be Rev 3. And again, you'd put the week number or the date or so, whatever you wanted in that title, and it checks it back in. And there, if I go back to my projects, it's now checked back in there. And if I could look at the properties of that, you see that one of my workflow actions that I've created, and I'll just go into this and show you that in my workflow actions, I've actually created a workflow action that says, it's called create baseline, displays as that. It works on checked in projects. Only certain user types have access to it, and it only appears on certain workflows, and then it actually creates a baseline. So that I've created that map myself, which means now when I go to my projects and actually look at my new project, I can actually click on create baseline, and it tells me it's gone and done that. And when I look at my revisions, I now have a baseline from the bids program from that point of view. Now, once I've done that, if I open up Vision again, and open up Powerproject, and when someone's working on this project, they can just check it out again. And if they go into their baseline manager, normal functionality inside Powerproject, but they actually have a Vision button inside here. And if I click on Vision, it will now show me there is my baseline Rev 3 that I created through Vision automatically. But some people might say, well, we didn't actually click on the baseline button, or we don't have that as a process. That's okay, because I can use my program revisions as baselines as well. So I can grab my Rev 1 and I can import that as a baseline, and that brings that in. And now there is my project. There's that extra task. It doesn't have a baseline because that never existed inside that baseline. So any revision you've got, which is any checked in version, can be used as a baseline. This becomes very, very powerful as you do that, as you use it. Now, if I go back to check this back in, and I'm just going to keep for referencing, just changing the rev numbers in there, like so. Now, one of the other powerful sides, and again, people may not realize that with Powerproject from the Alekiosoft website, you can actually download the project viewer, and the project viewer is free to download. It allows you to open up Powerproject files and view them without having a license of Powerproject. You can open up Powerproject files and view them. It is only read-only. It also actually allows you to open up Microsoft project files and actually Oracle P6 files, XERs and XMLs into it, and view them as well and print them, but you can't change them. But also we have a vision button in here. So what I can do is I can log in here, and I'm going to connect into my other user because I've just got Powerproject on my machine at the moment. And in here, what I can do is I can either click on it to download, or I can actually download a specific revision. So if I wanted to look at a particular version, and this is not just in the viewer, inside Powerproject itself, I can also go in and download a specific revision of the project. And so if I did that, it would now give me an option that I could download, and I can include revisions as baselines. So I could look at Rev 3 and have Rev 2 as a baseline. Now this is downloading, so I can't, if I make any changes, I can't commit them back. But if you've ever wanted to do comparisons, what week 8 looked against week 2, you could do that. So it allows you to do comparisons and brings them in as baselines. It becomes a really powerful way of working with that. Now the other powerful side of what Vision allows, and again, I don't know if many of you are getting to the 3D, 4D side, so the BIM side. Powerproject itself has a BIM add-on BIM module, and what that module allows you to do is it allows you to go to, so I can go to here, if I go to my BIM side, if I just go to off, if I go to my BIM side, and I'm just going to open up a very simple IFC in here, which is an Astra Office block inside here. And if I open that up, that allows me to see a 3D model that I've opened up. This is just a very simple one that I can open up, but I can select items in here and drag them and assign them to the different tasks inside the project, link them together. And once I've done that, if I save that and then I check the project back in, and this is now Rev 5, and I can say with first model linked in there. And when I check that in, notice it's actually uploading the IFC, the model, to Vision. So this becomes really powerful. If you do 3D and the 4D simulation, Vision will actually store the latest IFC model files, 3D model files. And that also means that if someone comes along with the free viewer in here, and if I just refresh, there's Rev 5. And if I do that, if the machine it's on doesn't have the particular model, it will download and open the model up inside the viewer or in the version of Powerproject someone's using. So it allows them to bring that back, and then they can, if they wanted to, go in there and run the simulation inside however they've linked it up. I didn't link this much up at all, but it will allow me to link that up and run a simulation in there. I only linked a few objects inside at this point in there, as you can see. So it will allow me to do that, and it goes across. But that's enabled, so anyone can access that from Vision inside there. Now, along with this is that inside Vision, we have the option inside here to export. If you remember, there was an option in here to export to business intelligence. That allows me to export the data, and in the back end of Vision, there is a SQL database where we store the data that at that point extracts into Vision all your projects together. So if you want to look across multiple projects, if you want to put reports together, you can use a reporting tool of your choice. So for example, I've got one here which is in Microsoft Power BI. And to give you an example of a dashboard, this is showing me 3 projects that are inside my business intelligence database. And what I can do is I can click on one of these in there. So if I right click on and say go to the project detail, that will show me the detailed dashboard of what's happening with this particular project. So you can see there, I can see my buffer consumption because I've got buffer going on inside this project, my plan v actual, my cash flow, activities, key milestones. But if I go back to here and I want to look at a different one, just go into that and look at those details, and you can see dashboard against that, number of activity days that happen, different milestones, and so forth. So all of this is being brought together in the back end of Vision, and all you do is you connect your reporting tool to it. So we don't provide the dashboards because we found that most clients have different requirements on dashboard reporting. So we give you access to the data, and then you can choose how you're going to access that data, how you're going to bring that together, and what you want to do. And again, that's something we can assist you with. Solid Support can, and our reseller can assist you with as well, of generating those reports to how you want it to look. So in summary on this side is what Vision allows you to do in a very simplistic way is you could say it centralizes the storage of your project, but actually it's a lot more. It stores the data for your project dashboards. It allows you to instigate a configuration that represents your business. So the types of users, the types of locations, regions, and so forth that you might have in here. And again, I've got a few projects in here at the moment, only a couple, but I can also look at those in a different view across here. This is inside Vision. It's looking at each, that's the bid program for the first one, the bid program for the second one that's in there. And if I click on that, it will go to that particular one inside there. If I wanted this to go to the next level, I could submit it as an action in there. It's now created a contract program inside here. And then I can actually, when I'm inside Vision, so inside Powerproject, and I go to open again, I now have access because my rights allow me to see the bids and contract. I could open the contract version, check that out, and start working on that. I could archive off the old one so I don't see it. I'm in there, and in here I can make some changes. Notice it still brings the model out because it was linked to the latest one. And if I reschedule that in there, and if I just check that back in, and I can say this now might be Rev 1 contract there. That uploads. It doesn't re-upload the model because it already has the latest model inside Vision inside here. And if I look at my revisions, I can now put my contract with program revisions, my bid revisions, and my bid baselines. If I created baselines inside my contract, I would also have those stored, and I can access any of them at any time to view and work with. And it has that wealth of data. So if you've got a project running 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, and you checked it in every day, once a week, whichever, you would have a copy of it for every version of that. And you don't have to worry about changing the name. So again, very configurable, very useful in there. If I just come back here, as I say, some of the highlights is the fact is that you can literally go inside Powerproject and go File, Open Vision, and log in. You don't have to go to the website and download the projects. You can if you wanted to, but you can do it automatically. This means most of your users may never need to actually log into the Vision website, in there. It allows you to check out the project, which is downloads the project on there. So if, and again, if the status is different, you may only be able to download it if it's already been approved, because you can't work on it. You can define that through your workflow. So you can check it back in or commit it back in directly from Powerproject, and the options in the workflows can also be accessible from within Powerproject. You have built-in business intelligence database, and again, that means that you can extract the data automatically into a single database to use. One of the advantages with the business intelligence database is a lot of systems will give you a predefined data structure, and at starting point, that's what we do with you. But actually, we can work with you, and our partners can work with you to design a specific data schema to meet your reporting needs. So if the fields aren't there, or if you want different types of fields, they can be done in there. and you can have a direct connection from your office to that database to run reports. Example I showed you here, which was Power BI, Microsoft Power BI, that's just one reporting tool that could be used. You can use Crystal Reports, Microsoft Reporting Services, and Tabular, and so forth. There's many reporting tools out there that you can use, and your IT department may already find that you've got that. And again, summarizing, the project rights, access rights can be set up who can create, approve, update, delete, and view. You have email notifications, so when a project gets created, it can send a notification to the relevant planner and a planning manager, construction manager, that that project's now been created for them. You can set up reminders that on a weekly basis, that they need to be updating their project inside there. So you can set all those notifications up as you go there. You've got the daily reporting side on there as well. So there's again, we have companies such as Vinci, ISG, and various other companies that are using Banava and so forth that are already using this. And we do have some white papers which we can send you links out to of the advantages that people have got with this. And they found this takes away a lot of the administration of worrying about where is the latest version of the project, because that project is the one point of truth. If it's sitting on someone's machine and they've forgotten to upload it to the network drive or send it to someone, here you just check it in, and again, or commit, and the latest version is sitting on Vision. So it's that one point of truth that's in there. So that was a little bit of a whirlwind tour of Vision. If you want a more specific demonstration, we arrange that. So if you speak to Hemang and so forth, we can arrange that. If you have any other questions, do let me know. If you have any questions for me now, just do let me know in the question box. I said we have one question so far, as people saying, when I checked out program, can I close it down on my computer, or do you need to check it back in? No, you can, once it's checked out, it's on your machine, you can use the commit button or check in, but you don't have to. Whatever version you commit or check in is the latest that sits in Vision, but you don't have to keep on checking it back in. It can sit on your machine and on there, and you just commit changes to it. So if anyone else has any other questions in there, security rights. So yes, you can act. Someone's asked about, can you restrict who can download it? Yes, you can. You can control that side in there. So that works. Someone's also asked about model changes. So, and again, this is a good point. If I just go back here, inside here, and let me check out the latest. So the way that Powerproject BIM works with models is that you link the model up to your project like this. Now, if someone gives you a revision, and you can get 2 or 3 revisions in 1 week when you're in the height of this, you literally go into your model properties, manage revisions, and add the new revision. That will maintain all the links you've done across, unless someone's deleted something from the model and redrawn it. So it's no longer the same items, but you can manage that by adding that in there. And if I did this and then checked it back in, it would check in the latest version of there. So someone's asking if there's a web interface, I think from a Powerproject perspective. So at the moment, Powerproject needs to be installed on your machine. You can access it through Powerproject or the project viewer. Vision itself does have a progressing section. And if you don't use that, we also have a site progressing tool, which is a mobile app that sits on your phone. You can export the information from Powerproject to that. People can update it with progress, with comments, notes, pictures, annotated pictures, submit that back, and you import that back into Powerproject, and that progress data is then stored and kept when you go into your site, back to your Vision. So Vision sits across everything. Now, there's also, someone's asked about Enterprise. So Powerproject, there's 2 flavors of Powerproject. There's a standalone version that sits on your machine and you work on the individual Powerproject file. There is also the version that sits inside a Enterprise server. So you still have Powerproject on your machine, or Powerproject connecting to the Enterprise server, but Enterprise allows multiple people to access the same project at the same time in a live environment. Now, if you have Enterprise installed in your location, then when I go to open in here and I choose, let's just use this one, I right click on this one, there actually gives me an option to actually check it out to an enterprise server. So I can check out from Vision to enterprise, and then I could have 5, 10 people working on the same project at the same time. And yes, even if they were using 3D models and doing 4D simulations, that could all be done at the same time in there, and that would all work. And they could work on that, bring their own models in and check it back in. There's a bit of process of where you store the models, so everyone accesses the same one when it checks them out. But again, yes, that's all possible in that side of it. And if I go into here, I just browse. If I open up a example one as well, just from and again, I open up this one here. Oops. My group model here. So just give you an idea, this is the same model with a bit more information inside here. And again, I can set up how long the sequence is going to be. So I can say I want 20 seconds. Here it's going to simulate across days. And again in there, and if I now run play, just so you can see, I don't know how well that comes across. Might be a little bit staggering as it goes through, smooth on my machine. And there you can see I've got a simulation running, going as it goes through. And again, if I've got a baseline, I can have a comparison window showing my baseline simulation and the differences between those. And all of that information is checked back in to Vision so you can use it as you go through. So someone's asked about, Vision, we've got UK customers, we've got European customers using it. We do have some Australian customers using it at the moment. And so, and they're using it to the full extent of Powerproject Enterprise, BIM, and so forth in there. So we have an active environment running currently in Australia. So if you want any further details, we can provide more on that. And if you want any further questions, if anyone's got any further questions, I'll happily answer those. Otherwise, thank you very much for your attention. And this recording will be available. You'll receive an email with a link on this in a few hours' time. Share it with any colleagues. Contact Hemang or myself if you want further details or a demonstration, individual demonstration. On that, thank you very much for your time, and I will speak to you all soon.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone.